And welcome back to Sports Talk. Great to welcome joining us now to talk about her book, which really did a great lot of sales in hardcover, now out in paperback, called Find a Way. Joined today by a woman you all know from her work on television, Wide World of Sports, but maybe more so, importantly, for her tremendous swims that she made between Cuba and Florida. We're going to find out all about her. The name of the book, again, is called Find a Way, the inspiring story of one woman's pursuit of a lifelong dream. We're joined today by Diana Nyad. And Diana, great to talk with you. I've been a fan of your work for a long time, but it's good to have you with us today.
Well, Doug, thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
I remember, I read through the book, but I remember you talk about it in there, your swim around Manhattan. I was living on Long Island at the time. That's where I grew up, and that's the first time I've heard of your incredible swimming feats, and that was quite a swim you made back then, around the whole island of Manhattan.
Yeah, it was a kick in the pants. I was going to graduate school at NYU, and in Manhattan, and I came back from a long summer of swimming around the world. The marathon swimming circuit takes you from Italy to Argentina to Mexico and to Canada, and the earth is 4/5 water, and it seems like this band of people and we would swim most of it during the summers. And I wound up back in New York, and a friend said to me, "Why are you going off and swimming these crazy eccentric places like the Bay of Naples in Italy? This is the most famous island in the world, Manhattan. Why don't you swim around this island?" And I started looking into it, and it turned out that a number of men had done it way back, like in the teens, in the 20s,
right,
in the prior century, but no woman had ever done it. And I thought, now there's something that'd be a lot of fun, to look at this beautiful, historic island of Manhattan all day long. So that's what that was about, 1975.
You're a brave woman for swimming in that water, though, with all the ships that go through there. You did a good job of surviving that.
Well, I tell you, when we got into the Harlem River up north, all the people on my boat were shielding their eyes and turning away in disgusting looks on their faces, and I never stopped to ask them what it was they saw. I didn't want to know. I put my head down and swam a little bit faster to get out of the Harlem and into the Hudson River.
You might be finding other bodies that aren't swimming on their own.
I'm afraid. That's what I'm afraid to ask. I'm afraid that's what they might have seen, yeah.
But that was the first time that I had heard of your great marathon swims. And, of course, the book talks a lot about that, the Cuba to Florida, Key West swims that you made, and really got a lot of great coverage over the years, and really the determination. I guess that's the name of the book, really finding a way to get it done. It took you 5 times and a lot of hard work and effort to do it, but you finally got it done a few years ago. Great thing that you did.
Well, thank you. And I think that's what that phrase is, find a way. There were several thousand people on the beach when my team and I, stumbled up onto the shore in Key West there. It was Labor Day 2013. And, we've heard from literally millions of people from all around the world. And you know what, Doug, they're not swimming fans. Most of them aren't even sports fans. They don't care. They could care less about a record. What they saw was an individual and a team who got knocked down, who almost died. That's not hyperbole. That box jellyfish is the most potent venom on earth. I should have died that night through those massive stings. And then there were 65-mile-an-hour winds. It's Mother Nature raging on steroids out in that particular wilderness. The sharks are dangerous. It's what people saw is a person who refused to give up, who was going to find a way. And that's what I think I represent to people. I think that's why people who aren't in the world of swimming or sports come to this story, because everybody, you don't get through life without heartache, without challenges. I don't care whether it's deep like cancer, or whether you've lost your job, or you're dealing with a difficult teenager, or your dreams just are not coming to fruition. If you just don't give up, if you persist, you will get to that other shore of yours. So I think, honestly, that bigger metaphoric story is what I'm about, and what the book's about, frankly.
Yeah, when I kind of followed you while you were doing it over the years, your swims and all that, and I always thought the biggest issue you deal with, other than fatigue and all that, but would be sharks. But I didn't realize till I read through the book, like you just mentioned, the jellyfish. And we've all dealt with jellyfish going to the beach, but never the kind of deadly ones you had to deal with. I mean, that is, like you said, life or death. I mean, they are really deadly, those things.
Oh, honestly, you would not wish that pain on your worst enemy. Now, sharks are no joke. This is their territory.
Mm-hmm.
They know from the oceanic whitetip can sense through its sonar something, flashing around on the surface, like a swimmer going by or a dead fish flashing around. They can sense that from maybe 2.2 miles away.
Right.
So they're on their way to you, and they're under you when you have no idea they're there. We use electricity under the kayaks to put out an elliptical field, and most of them, if they're not desperately hungry, don't want to come through that field. I have divers. How brave are they? How am I ever going to thank those guys? Diving pitch black. We use no lights because lights attract jellyfish. Lights attract, bait fish and sharks. But we use no lights, and so they swim under me all night, my divers, looking for the pair of iridescent eyes of the predators, and they're always there. Now, does that mean they're going to come up and attack you? No, probably not, but they could. If they're hungry enough, they haven't eaten for a week or two, and your little, kicking on the surface goes by, they might come up and take a leg, and still, given all that, which sounds frightening, I'd rather see a shark. I'd rather take my chances at taking my fist and punching a shark in their sensitive snout than be hit by the box jellyfish. That stuff is like science fiction.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I've seen the man of war and other jellyfish, but I didn't ever heard of it till I read through your book there. And again, just to remind the folks, you did not use a shark cage either, so that was another thing.
No, didn't use a shark cage. And, the man of war is no picnic. Most jellyfish are no picnic. You don't want to be stung by any of them, but nobody in the history of mankind has ever died by a man of war sting, whereas 90% of the people who have ever been touched by the tentacle of the box jellyfish have died instantaneously. They take down your central nervous system. They paralyze your spinal cord, and that's what I felt. I felt my back going into spasms, and I couldn't get my breath. I went into anaphylactic shock, and even though we had a crack medical team, University of Miami, sports docs, ER docs, they don't know what the heck to do with the box jellyfish. Who's versed in that? Very few people on Earth. I made it through the night, and you know why? I don't say this out of being, a braggart. I just do believe it's true. I made it through on will. I just had a resolve before I started this thing that no matter what comes, 65-mile-an-hour winds, shark brushes, jellyfish attack, you get the left arm up and you get the right arm up over and over. You don't give in.
Diana Nyad is our guest. Find a Way is the name of the book, autobiography out in paperback now, doing a book tour as we speak, traveling around the country, around the world, with her motivational speeches. And I didn't realize, again, just kind of reading through the book, your story, the way you describe it very vividly, and the pictures as well. I mean, there's a lot of chafing and all the stuff you had to deal with, the skin, your face, with the mask you had to develop to kind of protect yourself. I mean, it was more than just a muscle ache you had to deal with. I mean, you had a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, I think I have never been a climber. I do not know what it's like at the top of the world, K2, Annapurna, Mount Everest. But I do have a number of friends who are, among the elite of the alpine climbers. Ed Viestiers is a friend of mine. And so when you listen to extreme altitude sickness when you're above 26,000 feet or so, I don't know what that's like. But I think there are some comparisons in terms to the severity of the ultra climber to the severity of just the very few of us who have done these very long ocean swims. There are really only 3 of us on planet Earth who have done the long, over 48 hours nonstop out in the open ocean. And yeah, it's, your muscles, forget about it. They've been trained. You've been doing, I'm very proud at the end of the book of the log. If you look through that log, it just makes you exhausted reading through it. 14 hours one day, 15 hours the next day, 16 hours the next day. That's what I remember, more than the 53 hours of the swim itself. But I think that log, will show you that once your body's in shape, It's not the muscles, it's not the wind, it's not potential cramping. It's now going to be Mother Nature. Can you get a break from all those variables out there? And usually, I proved it, you can't.
And you tell your age in the book, so I'm not giving anything away here, but I mean, you've done this from your 20s when you swam around Manhattan, and then you did this in your 60s, and you said you felt almost better equipped now to do that kind of swim than you might have been back then, right?
Yeah, I've made jokes that I was more of a thoroughbred horse athlete back in the day. I was leaner. But when you're leaner and you're a little more fragile, I was more fragile to the cold. I don't think it's pain resistant. I don't think I had the brute strength that I have now. I'm more of a Clydesdale these days, and it served me well. Out in the ocean, I think I was tougher mentally at this age too. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm not saying that a tennis player or an NFL or NBA player would be better in their 60s. I think we could clearly all say that wouldn't be true. Now you've got to have, quick neuron reaction and quick twitch fiber, and, you need speed and agility, and those things do fade as we get older. But as an ultra-endurance athlete, I swear to you, I think I'm better in my 60s than I ever was in my 20s.
And you said the mental toughness, like you describe in the book, you would just go through songs in your head, right? I mean, that was kind of kept you going, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're trying to keep fairly close to reality. If you just, picture you've got this tight cap over your ears, you've got these fogged over goggles over your eyes, and you're turning your head just about once a second for a breath. So, I don't see a thing. I come in from training swims, and my whole team says, "Oh, wasn't that gorgeous? What was it, 50? Was it 60 dolphins that were playing around us for hours? That was so much fun." Well, I didn't see one dolphin. I'm looking to the side of the boat every second, and I'm looking at the bottom of the ocean every other second. And so I'm out there in my own thoughts. So I put together a playlist of 85 songs. I'm not listening to earphones. I just hear the songs of the people of my generation, the Beatles, Neil Young, Janis Joplin, and that keeps me closer to reality. I'm counting 1,000 times. Neil Young's The Damage Done. And as I'm counting, I'm there. I'm in the present. If, God forbid, there's a shark signal, there's a wind whipping up, they can get my attention quickly from the boat, and we know how to go through the protocol.
Are you sick of the water now? Have you gone in since, or do you still swim for
what?
fun?
It's the opposite. It's the opposite. I'm kind of, now that I'm not training that hard, it's glorious to feel the meditation and the glide and being outdoors with the blue sky above you. I love swimming. I'm actually walking, that my new thing is called Everwalk in the fall. And then for the next 5 years, my buddy Bonnie from the swim, we are going to lead people, thousands of people, through the great corridors of America. We're going to walk from Orlando to Miami, for instance. Maybe you'll come out and join us for a day or two of that. We're going to walk Boston to New York City, Chicago to Minneapolis, L.A. to San Diego, all over America. And at the end of 5 years, we're going to walk cross-country, the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic, with 1 million people. They say sitting is the new smoking. Well, Bonnie and I are going to get people up and walking. So it's called Everwalk. It's everwalk.com. Check it out, will you?
Great. That's a great idea. I just took up doing 5Ks a couple of years ago just to get different type of exercise. So it is a great exercise. Yeah.
There you go. And people are busy. Not everybody can come out and join us for the entire walk, a week or two, depending on the area. But you can come out and do a 5K. And go back to your car. You can do 5 miles. You can do 2 days. You do whatever you want, but at least we're offering an epic experience, which is kind of what I'm all about.
Got to ask you before we run out of time, as I mentioned at the top, Wide World of Sports is one of those shows I grew up watching every Saturday. I know you were part of that. I know you've done other television work as well, but that probably was the show that kind of, I guess, every sportscaster kind of aspired to be on, and you did a lot of interesting sports you covered on that. That was a lot of fun.
I was so lucky. I mean, I was at, this Saturday I would be at the World Table Tennis Championships in Tokyo. The next Saturday I'd be at the World Cross-Country Ski Championships in Zermatt, Switzerland. The next Saturday I'd be at the World Water Skiing Championships in London. I mean, 10 years following the best pursue their excellence, Olympic Games, the whole thing. I was living a charmed life, I'll tell you, Doug, although kind of crazy. But then at the end of 30 years, I started with Wide World when I was 30. I worked for National Public Radio and Fox Television, a bunch of them. And by the time I reached 60, I kind of felt like a spectator. I wasn't a doer anymore, and that's partly what prompted me to go back and chase that big Cuba dream. I wanted to be the dream. I wanted to be the dreamer instead of chasing after other people who were chasing after their dreams.
Yeah, they had some wild sports on there that you covered, but after you do that a while, you want to get back in there. And then, of course, you were on that show as a swimmer back then. I mean, they covered you. That's how I first saw you. So
yeah, that's right. Way back when, way back in the day, Doug.
Yeah, not that far back. We're not that far, that old, are we? And again, the book called Find a Way, and you talk very poignantly about other things in your life, and we'll let the folks read about that. But you overcame a lot of things there that, in addition to the athletic part of your life, to overcome that's quite a story. So we congratulate you on that.
Well, thank you. I guess, you get to be this age. I'm 66 now, and, I've lived, as I said, a charmed life. And on the other hand, I've had my heartaches. Every human being does. And I'm proud of the book. I think the book is an authentic, honest, and hopefully page-turner of a drama.
Find a Way, the inspiring story of one woman's pursuit of a lifelong dream is the name of the book. And Diana, you have a website, I imagine. Give that out. People get more information about that, and the running and the walking thing too. Give that out again. Yeah,
yeah. Thank you. The Everwalk is everwalk.com, like ever. Walk forever, walk everywhere, Everwalk. And I'm just at diananyad.com, and of course, Facebook at Diana Nyad, all that stuff too. I appreciate your respect, Doug. I really do.
Great, Diana. Pleasure talking to you. Hopefully we can do it again when you head this way for the Everwalk. Please let us know, maybe through Donna, and we can do something with that walk. We'd like to do something at that time. Talk to you then.
I'm counting that as a commitment.
Oh, I'll be there.
Okay.
Thanks, Diana.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.